Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin McGee. I am in the role of CEO of Smith Senior Living. And next month, I will have celebrated my 24th year with the organization. So, thank you.
And I'm Megan Maple. I've been with the organization for 10 years, and I'm the Associate Executive Director here.
And again, I've been here 9 years with the team. And why is the tenure so important? One means continuity. Kevin's been here over 20 plus years. So when he started here, he was 2 years old. In a community like Smith Village, it's extremely important for your care and for your peace of mind to have continuity. It's rare for our industry to have someone be a CEO that's been with an entity or community for 24 years or even 10 years. Okay. Now, Megan, you mentioned 10 years. You're now the Associate Executive Director. Can you tell us where you started? What was your first position here?
Sure. I started as a life enrichment facilitator, which is activities. So I started in the activity department. And I worked my way up. I was the life enrichment director. And then I did resident services and concierge services for independent living. And now as the associate executive director, I'm over the assisted living building.
Congratulations on your new position also.
Thank you.
People talk about activities. What is there to do in independent living? That's what we'll be talking about today. People always say, I'm not ready yet to move into the home. Well, I'm not ready yet to move into Smith Village. But we're finding younger and younger people are moving in because they want to enjoy the activities. They want to enjoy the amenities that we have before they go into assisted living. So today our prime focus is independent living, not assisted living, not skilled or nursing or memory. But we have all of that here at Smith Village. If you should ever need it, it is here. Now, I would hope and assume that you are researching other communities. If you are, I would make sure to ask them, do you have a full continuum of care? And they say yes, ask them to explain what that is. Because some people may say, I have the full continuum of care, but it does not include skilled. And some people think that is a full continuum, but when you go into assisted and you need more care, some people have to move out of that community again to skilled nursing. So please make sure to get your answer to the question. Megan, you mentioned that you were in charge of enrichment and then activities. In your 10 years, although you're in a new position, what have you seen change in the last 10 years for how active we are here?
So we are definitely a very active community. I would say that in the past 10 years, we've become more active. We go outside of the community quite often on bus trips. We have some really great professional speakers that will come into our community as well. And I would say that most of our programming that we do here is based off of what our residents are wanting. You know, I can make a calendar of events and put a slew of things on there, but if it doesn't pertain to what everyone that lives here wants, then what's the point? So it's very important to us to get feedback and ideas from our residents to put on our calendars.
So to her point, we joke about this, but it's true. When you move into Smith Village, you can be as active or as inactive as you want to be. It depends on your personality. It depends on what you want to do. And also another analogy we joke about that is true. It's almost like a cruise ship on land. If you go on a cruise, you can do what you want, or you can just relax. It's the same thing here in our communities. Kevin, you've been in the industry for a while, and you've been through different times and experiences. How have you seen the communities like this change in your career?
Sure. I think two things. People want more choice and they want more amenities. So when I first started here 24 years ago, it was referred to as the Washington Jane Smith, if people remember that building. It was a very ornate building. It was beautiful, but they had very small rooms. And not every room even had a shower. There was no kitchens. So the board realized to gear up for the next generation, because we'll be serving, in 2 years, we'll be celebrating our 100-year anniversary right here on this campus. We did a master plan. We took the building down and rebuilt So if you had a chance, you can see we have both 1 and 2 bedroom apartments with full kitchens and, they look like an apartment or a condo. So I think amenities was a big piece of it. And then also amenities outside of their apartments. A room like this with a community hall where we have all kinds of activities that Megan spoke to. We have religious services around the holidays. A lot of schools come in here and perform, or entertainers. But as you go through the campus, you'll see a lot of different venues. And we've even added new venues since we opened Smith Village. We redone our entranceway. And as you come out of the room here, you'll see what we call the Oak Room. It's an informal dining venue. We call it kind of like a pub or a bar kind of feel. And then we have the main dining room. And then around we have what we call the marketplace. So 25 years ago, we had 1 dining room. They had set schedules for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now we unbundled all the dining venues. We have 3 different venues, and we have dining points. So people could use a declining balance over a quarter, and you could use it for your guests to come in, and you could either have lunch or dinner, however you choose. Because what we're seeing today is people want more choice than what we had imagined, say, 20 some years ago.
Even 10 years ago.
Or even 10 years ago.
10 years ago, you were never thought there'd be a pub here. There, draft beer. There you go. You can move into Marshall. We have 4 on tap too, and local craft beer. I can talk about that all day. But 10 years ago, we never thought we would have a pub, or that we would have a state-of-the-art theater where you can watch movies or watch the Bears or the Bulls. We never thought we could do that, and we have that here now. We're our gym. Talk about the gym. How many of you want to exercise but may not do it? Okay. With your background, can you talk about our state-of-the-art gym and how we help and track and all that?
Sure. So our wellness center is available 24/7, and we do have staff that are also there to assist with one-on-one programming, so they can work with you on, whatever your goals are, strengthening, if you just want to have better use of your muscles, stretching, and they can set up that program for you with it's called HER equipment, which is not weighted. It's weighted by air pressure, which is for seniors much better on your joints and your bones. And you get your own wristband, and it dials up on each machine to your weight and your height. And they also offer an array of fitness classes as well. So yoga, like I said, stretching and strengthening, weighted exercises. There's a wide variety of programming available for fitness.
And all that's included, and we'll talk about our fees and everything else over lunch, but all that's included in your monthly fee. So winter is coming. It's going to be here before we know it. But imagine if you want to go down to the gym and you're at your house, you got to have to get in your car, go down the street. Here, you just walk down the hallway, and then there's a gym right there. You're not outside in the climate. Or if you want to play cards with some friends, or you want to have beer and watch a Bears game, you just walk down the hallway, there's a pub, you're right there. You don't have to worry about getting in the car in the snow and ice. So something to think about that. Kevin, if you don't mind, a lot of people, when they look at communities, they may not know what it means to be not-for-profit or to have a foundation. That's who we are. He's going to talk about that. A lot of these other communities in our area are for-profit. Can you talk about the differences?
Sure. So Smith Village is a not-for-profit organization. As I mentioned, we'll be celebrating a 100-year anniversary in 2024. And so what that means is we don't operate a business for the sake of profit for stockholders in New York. We just want to cover our costs and reinvest in our campus. I work for Smith Senior Living, which is a not-for-profit that oversees the management of Smith Village. And what I report to a board of trustees, and the board of trustees is made up of about 12 individuals who have a varied background, and they volunteer in a governance oversight. They're not paid for. We have attorneys, we have CPAs, educators, nurse practitioners that serve on the board with various backgrounds. And again, they oversee the site of the organization on a fiduciary responsibility. Again, our mission is to serve seniors and their family members. It's not to drive profit margins back to stockholders. So the whole mission is to be a provider of services for our greater community.
And Kevin is probably one of the most humble CEOs I've ever met, and I'll say that behind his back and also in front of him. But he's been here for 24 years. He's the CEO of Smith Senior Living. Kevin, how many relatives live here at Smith Village of yours?
So my mother and father live here. My mother lives in independent living. My father unfortunately had some health episode about 2 years ago. He's in skilled care. I have an aunt who moved through the whole continuum of independent assisted. She's in skilled, and I have a mother-in-law in independent living and a cousin in independent living. So we could do Thanksgiving here, I think, right?
So that says, I think it says a lot about Kevin as a person, but also about Smith Village also. Megan, one question I want to ask and see what your answer is. A lot of people, when they look at communities like this, they're very nervous because it's a major transition, because some of you lived in your houses for a lot of years. How many people, percentage-wise, have you met in the last 10 years that have said, I wish I would have done this a year or two earlier?
I would say 8 out of 10 people. If you were to talk to 10 people, 8 out of those 10 would say that they wish they did this earlier.
So about 80%.
Yeah, 80%.
So how many of you in this room have lived in your house more than 20 years? Okay. 30 years. 40 years. Wow. 50 years. 55? 55, how many years, sir?
55, 56.
56 years to live in your same house. So everyone that also raised their hand from 20 to 55, it's a major transition, and we understand that. The easiest decision to make is to stay where you are. That's the easiest decision. Indecision is a decision. We will help you by, how will we help you is, we have third-party companies that will come to your house and you tell them, I've chosen the chestnut or the sycamore, whatever it may be. And they know our apartments, and you tell them what furniture you want to bring, and they will tell you, yes, that will fit. This may not fit. Yes, this will fit. And then they will help you get rid of stuff, and they'll help you move. So please don't think that you're by yourselves in this process, because we will help you. We have partners that will help you do that. Okay. Now, another question I'd like to ask Kevin, if you don't mind, because we talk about this all the time. When you hear, or I hear, someone says that I cannot financially afford to move into Smith Village, what's your first reaction or comment back to them?
Yeah, that's, I think one of the most common misconceptions out there is people can't afford this. And when we built Smith Village, we did a feasibility study, and the feasibility study took into consideration the average home sale of the 5-mile radius. So the entrance fees, which you can talk with Teresa more one-on-one based on the apartment that you might be interested in. It's all based on the average, price of the homes in the primary market. And I think a lot of times people don't realize, and I'm a homeowner, how much money you spend on owning a home between maintenance, utility costs, property taxes. I know my hot water tank is about to go out. I have to service my boiler next. I have an old home in Beverly. This Friday, we have to service a boiler. There's a lot of miscellaneous fees that we're paying for that we just don't necessarily think about. And here, everything is taken care of in our entrance fee and monthly service fee. So we could have a worksheet that you could work with Teresa Rush, our sales counselor, to go over your monthly income, your assets that you have, and the current expenses that you're going for. Because my guess is you're probably paying for more expenses than you realize. You know, we call that cost creep. And here, a lot of it's just bundled between your internet that you're paying for, the house phone, all kinds of expenses that we should really take into consideration.
And he's 100% correct. When people look at our fees, they say, oh, it's really expensive. When you first look at that number, it is expensive. But like he said, it's one amount. But when you write a check for your power and it's $150 or $200 for your power, or your internet is $80 or $100, or it's your water and your sewer and your homeowner's insurance and your taxes, you don't think about 100 here, 200 there, but it adds up to be quite a bit. Here, it's one check or automatic withdrawal every month, and all that I just mentioned is included. Housekeeping, trash pickup, average of 1 meal per day. What does 1 meal per day mean? Like you talked about decline in balance. You get a certain balance. It's like a meal plan at college. Okay, and most people may not use it all, but then they have fun at the pub at the end of the month. But again, I would ask you to meet with Teresa, and we have that list or sheet that Kevin mentioned where we can compare. I'm not, nor is Teresa going to promise that we're going to be less expensive. More than likely, we're going to be higher. But when you look at everything that's included, initially that gap is to be this much in your mindset. But when you start putting numbers to the paper, it's going to get smaller and smaller gap, smaller gap. Okay, Megan, you've been here for 10 years. You've been in different positions, and you've seen people come in and move into independent, and then they need a certain amount of care, then they transition into assisted living, and then maybe into memory or skilled. Can you talk about where you've seen couples where one person, if you're married, each of you in that partnership always age differently. Sorry to say this, one person ages faster than the other. It's just very rare to see two people age at the same time. Can you talk about how easy it is for one person to be an independent but their partner, spouse be an assisted living, and how we help them with that transition?
Sure. So if you're living in separate apartments, you're still in the same building, and we still want you to have the same lifestyle that you were having before. So if you ate all 3 meals together, we're going to make sure that you're eating all 3 meals together. Having your visits, going to programs together. We're ensuring that you're still keeping, your same life, but one person may need a little bit more assistance than the other. So they have to live in assisted living with some oversight from a nursing staff. But we truly keep everything else as it was.
How many people in this room are thinking about staying where they are and not moving? I'm so proud of everyone, because that's not a lot. That's only 3 to 4 people in this room. I'll give you a personal story. My father is 83, and he fell 3 weeks ago, and I was away, but he fell, and no one found him for 3 hours. And my mother was out with friends, and he's stubborn. Men can be stubborn sometimes, believe that or not. And he didn't have a pendant. He couldn't get to a phone, so he had to crawl to the bedroom and get the phone. And then he called my brother. So I was worried about him, obviously. So a lot of people will move into a community like this to take the burden off of their children, so the children will not have to worry about them. Kevin, can you talk about that?
Yeah, my father was hesitant to sell the house that they were in for over 45 years. But they decided to move in, and my mother wanted to come 3 years before they finally came in. I will say my father did tell his friends he wished he did it sooner, but he never told me that. That's fine. But I can say as a family member, this is something we've been, well, I should say, working in the industry is something we've been preaching. Put a plan in place, because you never know what the future holds. My parents were in independent living for about 3 years. My father had a significant health issue. He had a stroke. And it was during COVID too. So what was nice, I mean, there's nothing nice about that situation, but what's reassuring as a family member, I'm the youngest of 5. And the more children you have, the more dynamics you have, the more opinions you have. But my parents put their own plan in place. So by moving here in independent living, when someone has a health episode, we have services in place, assisted living or skilled care or rehab, and we have relationships already established with local hospitals. So when my father had the stroke, he went out to the hospital, and during COVID, we stopped taking people but he was our own resident. So we were able to get him into Smith Village, which is a 5-star rated rehab skilled care building. And a plan was put in place where now my mom could go over and visit my father every day, as opposed if they were in a big house, which they had with multiple stairs, my mother would have to get in a car and drive, and all the nuances that involve with that. So it's something that I've been preaching for a long time, and now I can say I witnessed the benefit of them being here and have a plan in place for when those things that we just can't plan for in the future.
We meet with a lot of people that say, I will move into Smith Village when I need to. What's your comment to that, Megan?
I would say, as hard as it is, do it before you need to. You're not going to be able to benefit from all of the amenities and the wonderful things that we have to offer necessarily when you need it, because maybe at that point when you need it, you'll need to be in a higher level of living, assisted living or skilled nursing, and not be able to be as independent and do the things that you want to do when you want to do them.
And if I could follow up on that, I don't mean to say this to scare people, but so often we'll say, don't wait till that emergency. Because we've already made a commitment to our own residents. They get priority to assisted living and skilled care. And if somebody who's waiting on the outside, there's often times, and I live in the neighborhood, so someone will call me and say, my mother is in Christ, a little company hospital. There's been times I can't get my friend's parents in here because we don't have the availability, because we've already made a commitment to our own residents. So in a sense, it's kind of like having a long-term care insurance policy put in place. So
And another good comment, Kevin, is that, again, if we are full in our assisted living, which most of the time we will have 3 or 4 vacancies in assisted living, and that is through our internal residents that already live here. And Kevin mentioned, Kevin's been in this neighborhood forever. And when someone calls, we don't have availability because we have, our first priority is our people who already live here at Smith Village. So again, it's almost like a guarantee. You live here, that you will be taken care of throughout the continuum of care. You know, I say this and we say this every day, but it's one thing I want to point out. If someone lives here at Smith Village, like say if I live here at Smith Village with my partner and something happens to me where I've got to be taken to the local hospital, we have our team here that takes care of all the logistics. When am I going to be discharged? How am I going to get back to Smith Village? Am I going to need rehab? How long will I be in rehab? What do I need? My daughter does not have to take care of that whatsoever. If you wait too long and you live in your current residence or your current house, and God forbid something happens to you, your loved one and or your children will have to take care of all those logistics. We do this every week, but no offense, your loved ones and or your children do not. Trying to traverse that system can be frustrating at times because you have to keep on calling the discharge planners and get them to respond to you. We do all of that service of the logistics. It's all included. That's not an additional expense. Just that peace of mind alone, that if something happens to you here and you go to the hospital, then your daughter, your son, your spouse can worry about you and not worry about the logistics and the phone calls and the emails and transportation. So I hope that makes sense. It's a lot to think about. One thing too, Kevin and Megan both, whoever wants to answer this question. You've been in your house from 20 years to 55 years. The longest I ever met was a gentleman that's been in his house 70 years. And he was 101, but he's been in his house for 70 years. We understand that transition from where you live today into a community like this is hard because it's different. Also, we understand that most of you have not lived in an apartment for 50 years, 40 years. Can one of you take that question on how we can help you, or how our residents, when someone moves in, how our residents will help them get acclimated to the community in that transition?
So we have a group of residents here who are kind of like our welcome committee. They go and they meet our new residents. They learn about our new residents, get their likes and dislikes, invite them down to dinner because it can be scary going down to a new dining venue for the first time. And so they have meals together, they show them around because again, you get a tour, but to really know the ins and outs of the community, they get to learn that through our residents guidance. So we have a wonderful committee of residents who take that on and truly get our new incoming residents acclimated to our community.
One other question for Kevin. You know this through Ziegler. Ziegler is a major financial company within our industry. They have an office here on Wagner Drive downtown. A lot of people, they say they want to stay in their house and they'll bring care into their house. On the average here in Chicago, how much would that cost on an annual basis to bring care into your house?
Well, that's a hard question to answer because everyone's care needs are different. You might know the statistics better than I am, feel free. But what we hear quite often is people sometimes, maybe they waited too long, and independent living is no longer an option. So now they need care, so it might be assisted living. But what we're hearing is, one, there's a big labor shortage, right? And so that's made it harder on people trying to provide care at home. And secondly, it's the consistency of that care. So a lot of times the adult children are trying to manage the care of their parents or their aunt, uncle, whomever, just from a distance, which is challenging, making sure and then sometimes people call off, and then there's the family dynamics of one of the 5 kids have to go over, call off work or whatever, all the dynamics that come in place, and then also trying to maintain a house at the same time. So it's hard for me to answer the question based on how much care someone needs, but I can tell you, just trying to manage that care, we hear all the time, and then people call, and that's when we try to accommodate people to come into assisted living based on our availability.
So again, correct as always. The average right now, an average is best of the worst, the worst of the best. But the average in Chicago right now is over $5,000 per month for in-home care. Now, as you just mentioned too, we're so used to it, which I'm sad that we are, is lack of manpower, lack of people working. Thankfully, again, Kevin's been here over 20 years, 10 years, 9 years. Even our Green Bay Packer fans have been here for over 15 years, I believe. Been here for a long time. Not sure why we keep them around as Green Bay fans, or what we do. But the tenure of our team here, the tenure of our team is very important, because we also have a lot of people that stay here because of people like Kevin and Megan. But again, the average is over $5,000. My point was that someone may call out sick, may not come in, so then your loved one will have to call and find someone else to come in, or be on top of the agency, the home healthcare agency, to manage all of that. So why go through all that frustration when it's easier to move into a community like this and everything's taken care of for the most part? We had someone move in about 2 months ago, and they were all excited, and they said to Teresa and myself, they said, I'm so glad I just received 8 more hours in my life per month. I didn't understand. I said, can you explain that? I don't have to worry about cooking 3 meals a day. I don't have to worry about cutting the grass. I don't have to worry about taking the trash out. I don't have to worry about cleaning my house. I don't have to worry about any maintenance, because I've been in the house for 55 years and things break. I don't have to worry about that. Now I can do hobbies. I'm saving about 8 hours a month. I can, and that's just another full day in my life. But I don't have to worry about maintenance and snow and all of that.
There's another piece I'd like to add is we also have a lot of services that we bring into the campus. So we have a dentist that comes twice a week. We have a podiatrist. We have an eye doctor. And just yesterday, my mother gave up driving about a year ago. And just yesterday, we had the booster clinic. So we have a nurse practitioner from St. Xavier that comes here once a week. We realize, then every year it seems like we have another booster. We just had St. Xavier come yesterday, and all the residents came down and got their booster shot. So there's a lot of things that we try to bring in that makes it easier. And once again, I, as an adult child, didn't have to pick up my mother, bring her to her doctor or Walgreens to get the shot. There's just a lot of things we try to bring in to make it easier for everyone, including their family members as well.
One last topic, and then we'll open up for questions. A lot of people we talk to will say, 1, I'm not ready yet, or 2, I'm not old enough. So what is your comment when someone says they're not old enough, both of you?
Well, no one's ever ready, right? My mother would be an exception. But I think it's a big change, but it also is very freeing. A lot of times my parents were in the house for over 40 years, so it was hard for my father to leave the house and the memories. But once you make the break, it's a lot freeing in so many ways you never imagined. And I think we all feel younger than we are. And when I first started working in this industry 6 years ago, 80 was kind of an older age. Well, a lot of 80-year-olds are doing better than we had them 20 years ago. So the age I don't look at anymore as to what's considered to be older. It's a relative term now. So, people are going into their 90s and living very well and healthy and independent. And a lot of them have fortunately chose to move here. That are moving in from their, I would say, late 70s, early 80s, up to their mid to late 80s now.
Megan, what do you say when people say I'm not old enough?
To Kevin's point, we are what we think we are, our age, and we have an array of people here, and some from, like Kevin said, in their 70s, all the way up to, we're celebrating tomorrow. We have eight residents here who are 100 or older, and we just have an array of people here, and age is only a number, I think.
And so our minimum age is 62 to move in. So we're starting to see younger and younger people move in to Smith Village here because they want to enjoy the amenities. They want to enjoy their time. They want to enjoy their families when they visit or when they visit. Please know, we have people here that still work. They volunteer, but their address is just a different location. It's here, but they have more time in their lives now to do what they want when we take care of them. When we work here at Smith Village, we work in essence in their home. So we get to know everyone here, and our residents get to know everyone as well.
Well, another thing that I find interesting is now since we've been around for 100 years, and I've been here 24 years, we're also starting to see the second generation of residents come in. So where people, like my grandmother lived here, so my mother's the second generation. We have a number of residents here who've had parents that live here. So they saw the benefits of how their parent moved in. And if they needed care at a time, they could see that that whole plan was put in place. And it's just kind of fun to see the second generation of families come through Smith Village now.
It's really exciting. And Teresa wasn't here when I introduced people. So Teresa is an amazing person. Teresa, how long have you been working here at Smith Village?
I just finished my 17th year, so I'm my 18th year now.
And she started when she was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So again, 17, 18 years, over 20, over 10, 9, and over 15 in the back. I don't believe you'll find that anywhere else in Chicagoland, in a community where a management team and the team hasn't worked there that long. That's a true testament to our board of trustees and our mission statement. And apologies for being direct, but I just don't believe you'll be able to do that. Let's see. Yes, it's 11:43. One announcement, then we're going to take questions. For a short period of time, we have an incentive, and then I'll get with Teresa about the details, but you deposit and move into Smith Village by December, if we can make that work, you will get up to $15,000 in free upgrades. Okay, that's nice. It's a nice gift. We haven't done that 5 years, about 5 years. But we're able to do that on a financial basis to give that away financially, up to $15,000, where you can choose your paint colors, your marble for your countertops or hardwood floors. So that's something that we probably will not offer any more in 23, but we are offering that now so that you can choose the amenities in your apartment to make it your home, your new home. So again, up very limited time, but get with Teresa, look at some of our apartments. Also today, I know a lot of you have been here before. We're not going to be able to take you on a tour of apartments today just because of our schedule with our dining, because they have a tight schedule. So if you want to see apartments and you have not, call Teresa, set up an appointment to come back to me to go through that list of what your expenses are now, what it costs to live here. We can talk about that financially. Also talk about the $15,000 incentive, and then also see one or two of our apartments. Okay, and it's 11:44, so we'll open up the questions for Kevin and Megan. Yes, sir.
If we decide before December to give you a deposit, what is it? What obligation is that involved as far as moving in? Right away?
Everybody, yes, I'm gonna say not right away. That's my definition. You may say it is right away. You give us a 10% deposit in October, we would ask you to move in before the end of December.
This year?
Yes, this year. And we can make that work. Another thing on the real estate market, we're starting to see a little bit of a lull. It's going up, but it's not like this anymore. It's now like, It's starting to slow down a little bit. Now, what I'm saying is talk to any realtor, they're gonna tell you, if you're gonna sell your house, do it now. Because when inflation hits, or the recession is already here, it hits even more, you're gonna start seeing our prices of our houses go down. So I would suggest talking to a realtor, we can give you a list of realtors, is go ahead and get as much for your house now and move in. If you wait 6 months or a year, you're gonna get less for your house, you'll be losing money in the long run. But yes, sir, 10% deposit, Teresa can work with you on that, and then move in by December, and we can make that work for you.
Did you say 10%?
Deposit.
What does that represent in terms of dollars?
So our lowest is probably around 250. So you give like a $25,000 deposit to hold that apartment, and then gives you time to do all the paperwork. Like to get your house sold, move in, all that good stuff. Next person. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Okay, do you have to pay for parking?
I'm gonna let Megan answer that question. Do we have to pay for, not above ground?
Not above ground
Below
parking, but we do have a below ground parking garage that there is a monthly fee for that.
What is
And
that?
what would that be,
$73 a month.
$73 a month.
Meg? Oh, okay.
If any of you have driven downtown and parked for 4 hours, you're gonna pay $73 for one day, compared to $73 a month.
Well, and that's by month. So sometimes people decide in the summertime just to park on the surface, and that's fine. But it's not, you're locked in for the whole year. It's just a
Yes.
month-to-month fee.
Some other communities that are in our area will charge you a couple $100 a month, and they want that for 12 months. So we do have this first come, first serve available, but for $73 a month, you can park down below during the winter time. Let us know you don't want to do it come May and then park at the top. Yes, ma'am.
I have another question. For the pets, have you yet designated a spot for them, rather than taking them and paying someone to walk the dog? Our dog goes in and out all day.
What they're asking is, do we have a team member or a third-party company walk a dog?
Not so much walk the dog, but if we were to walk the dog, have a place on the grounds for
Okay.
the dog.
So yes, we have a courtyard here off the dining room that you can see, and it's gated in, and we have residents who bring their dogs out there to run around, go to the washroom.
Okay, and you can do the.
Yes.
whole shot.
Yes.
All of that.
So
Yes.
yes, we do have a designated pet area.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Two-part question. How many people live here?
So in general, from independent through the continuum, how many people live here?
For the whole campus?
Yes.
We have a little over 300 residents on campus.
And the second part of my question is if you can share with us what the diversity of the community is like.
What's the diversity of our community?
I don't have a percentage of the diversity, but I would say every year it becomes more diversified. It's very reflective of the Morgan Park neighborhood. So if you come in the evening, we could set up and have dinner sometime. I think you'd find a very diverse population of residents.
We're extremely excited, and we see our diversity grow and blend every year. So we're really excited. I've been excited since I've been here about the diversity. Let's see, it is 11:49. One more question. Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. My mother was here. Oh, and she was, I don't remember how many years, maybe about 4 or 5. And she passed in 2004. And I was working with you, Kevin.
Oh, really? Was it
We
positive?
were much younger. My name is Rita Jones.
Oh, yes.
Cullen Jones.
Oh,
and her
wow.
was Edna Doucette.
Okay, yes, wow.
And she was in, I mean, I was, as I walked up here, I was just amazed in the development because she stayed in that building. That's about all that they had was just this building. And, you know, everything else was kind of vacant. It was old.
Yeah.
And I think I worked with you because I worked in the city of Chicago.
Yes.
And you all initially wanted to do planning on 115.
We talked about it, yeah.
We talked about that. You wanted to do that, and then you decided that you want to stay here
Right.
and build on your own.
That's right, yes.
But yes, my mother was here and until she passed. And it was a good, she started in assisted living and ended up in skilled care.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
We did not pay her, I promise.
Welcome back.
Yes, ma'am, in the back.
How many units do you have here now?
In Independent, we have 149 independent living apartments. I highly suggest to talk to Teresa, set up almost an interview, didn't mean to say that, but an appointment to see what we have available. Okay, so we have one bedroom den, we have 2 bedrooms, and again, the 15,000 incentive or upgrades. It's kind of fun to pick out what you want in your apartment and see it being constructed. So it's 149 independent living. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when the gentleman talked about a couple, one was an independent living, somebody was an assisted living. When that happens, what happens for, like, let's say they're independent apartment, like, do they downsize? What happens to the fees if one is over there and one is over here? Is there a difference?
Sure.
Okay.
So the question I'm gonna restate is, if there's a couple and one needs a higher level of care, what happens with the fees? So one thing is, when someone puts an entrance fee down, they also get a healthcare discount of up to $48,000. So the person who moves to assisted or skilled care gets $1,000 up to 48 months off the market rate. Then for the independent living, there's a monthly fee and there's a second person fee. Once this other person moves out, the second person fee drops. And there's been time to time, depending on the apartment, sometimes people decide to move to a smaller apartment. And we have all these different floor plans. Like my mother stayed, they were in a mid-sized apartment. She didn't want to move. Now my cousin, who needed healthcare, had a very large apartment. His wife decided to downsize to a smaller apartment, while her husband moved over to skilled care and got the $1,000. So we try to work with people in the different scenarios they're in, but the second person fee drops, healthcare discount goes into effect in healthcare, and then it all depends if the person wants to stay in that unit or not.
Okay, and the second part, this is sort of unrelated, but when the lady asked about diversity, in my mind, I was thinking about male, female, that different age brackets, as well as like maybe the different races or ethnic groups. So I'm sure there are more females.
There are more females.
How many more, like what percentage? So would you say over 55% female or
I'd say more than
more than that?
yeah.
Yeah, I would say 60-40.
Yeah.
60-40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
60-40.
But 5 years ago, it was.
But yeah, 5 years ago it was.
This lady said, so you're not gonna find a husband.
Compared to, yeah, 5-10 years ago, it was probably 80-20, but
5 years ago, it was 80-20.
yeah. Yeah.
It was 80% women, 20% men. Now we're seeing 60-40. That means we're seeing more and more single men move in.
So are you saying more romance in the?
If you want to move, when you.
No, not me.
Question. If one of our activities could be speed dating, if you want that.
Speed dating in a senior citizen
Yeah.
center?
Why
No,
not?
we haven't done that, but.
I one story, about 10 years ago, there was a single man moving in. I remember one of the residents, she was a widow. She was at the front desk. She said, "Oh, man's moving in." She said, "Does he drive at night?" So. Never forget. And he did.
And he did.
So, back to the comment about diversity, because it's a very important topic. We are seeing younger and younger people move in. We're seeing different culture, different race, ethnic backgrounds, different religion, everything you can imagine. And I say in the last 15 years here, it's almost doubled in diversity. And it's really exciting to see that, and we'll continue to do that. So,
What's the average age of the residents? Did you say that? Like, what would you say?
the average age of incoming right now is probably mid to late 70s, incoming, mid to late 70s.
When you have the whole building, we mentioned we have some centurions, it's 83 or 84, but that's assisted and skilled.
Yeah, we have a few, quite a few over 100, so that kind of skews our numbers. Yes, ma'am, in the back, last question.
Okay, I understand that if you outlive your money, you're still taken care of.
I will talk about 60 seconds and I want Kevin to talk about that. It's something that we are extremely proud of here. If you move into a for-profit company and you run out of assets, they're gonna ask you or instruct you, and it's in your agreement that you have to move to a smaller apartment. And then if that doesn't work, then they will ask you to leave the community. Here, yes, there is a financial application to fill out. We look at, it's our responsibility to make sure it's a financial match or fit. But again, people make the assumption that it's out of hand, it's out of reach financially, but most time it's not. So we say, yes, you are able to come in. And if you outlive your assets, Kevin, what happens at that point?
Yeah, we don't ask people to move out if they run out of resources. As Anthony stated, we do ask for a financial disclosure because we have a fiduciary responsibility. We can't just let everyone come in. But once someone just states their assets and we can make the commitment, should they outlive their means, we will ask, they will never be asked to leave. Now, if someone wrote a check to their daughter and all the money was gone, that's a different story. But it's important if you're looking at other communities, what happens if you run out of resources? And I don't want people to think, oh, if you move into Smith Village, you run out of money. It rarely happens, but there's a chance that if you send Sharians, I don't think they expect you to live that long. And we don't ask people to move to different parts of the building based on their resources, and no one really knows about it, and it rarely happens. But as a not-for-profit, we feel very strongly about, you make a commitment to us, and you put that plan in place, we're gonna make a commitment to you and to your family.
That's, from my perspective, being in the industry for a lot of years, that's amazing. When the community says, we will never ask you to leave if or when you run out of assets at no fault of your own, is a key word.